You don't just repair to clear your conscience. You repair to rewrite the loop your family is living in. Hi, I'm Dan Hayden, and this is the Positive Legacy Podcast for Christian fathers. We're in the middle of a 4-part series on patterns at home. 2 weeks ago, we mapped out the pattern that sits underneath a lot of our bad days: trigger, reaction, fallout, distance, reset, and repeat. Last week, we zoomed in on that gap in between trigger and reaction, and I gave you a quick exercise: name, breathe, delay. This week, I want to talk to you about what happens when that wedge doesn't happen. You were tired, you were caught off guard, the room's super hot, and you reacted. There was fallout, there was distance, and now what? If nothing happens between that distance and the moment everyone just moves on, that old loop just hardens. Then the pattern remains. Something sets you off, you react. There's fallout. Everyone pulls away internally. Then life resets without real repair, and the whole thing quietly repeats. Same scene, different week. What I want to show you this week is how to drop repair into that gap so the structure itself begins to change. Instead of trigger, reaction, fallout, distance, reset, and repeat, it becomes trigger, reaction, fallout, distance, repair, then you reset and repeat. And over time, that pattern weakens. Think for a moment about how reset normally happens in your house after hard moments. Old reset sounds like this. Everyone goes to their corner, time passes, the next activity starts, a show comes on, dinner happens, bedtime happens, and really no one ever really names what happened. There's this unspoken agreement that we just don't talk about it. The silent message becomes, dad just cools off eventually, or hey, that's just how it is in our house. But new reset has the same logistics. You still have to get the kids fed and out the door, but there's one key difference. Before you start to move on, you insert a clean repair. It doesn't have to be a huge family summit or some big, long processing session. It's just a short, honest moment where you say, hey, I see what happened and I see my part in all of it. Our relationship matters more than this specific moment in time. The event itself might have just taken 10 seconds, and the repair might even take 90 seconds. But that 90 seconds changes the story that your family carries into the next day. Let me take you back to a time where we had some real miscommunication about who was bringing our daughters home from high school one day. My wife and I and our 2 teenage daughters, we just had mix up on who was bringing who home and who was going to meet who where and how everybody was getting home. Times were crossed, assumptions were made, and suddenly I'm getting a frantic phone call from one of my daughters who's standing next to the soccer field at school. She calls me and says, hey, who's giving us a ride home today? Well, I had told her sister, hey, you guys have to go to mom's classroom because I'm busy this afternoon. Well, that message never really got to her, and it didn't get to my wife either. So she's also trying to call me to figure out, hey, where are the girls and how are they getting home? Next thing you know, I just completely put them on blast, yelled at them, told them they need to talk to each other and to get up to mom's classroom so that she can bring them home. In that old loop, it would have looked a lot like this. We realized our mistake. We all feel embarrassed and stressed. We trade a lot of sharp comments to figure out whose fault it all is. I lose control. The car ride home for them is pretty tight. The kids and the parents feel on edge. And everything that night is just sort of quiet. And then, of course, the next day, in the chaos of getting ready for another one, we act like it never even happened. And if that's the real pattern, what story starts to form in my daughter's nervous systems? Probably something like, hey, we don't always get all the information. And when the adults mess up, we get blamed. We're the ones who get dumped on. I guess I'm just on my own when details slip through the cracks. Within the context of our marriages, it says something like logistics are landmines. And when something goes wrong, we protect ourselves and not each other. It's you and me until it's you or me. Hey, this time the miscommunication still happened big time. There was still plenty of tension. And I would love to tell you that I put the repair part right where it belongs, right when it needed to be there. But honestly, that really didn't happen until I picked them up the next day. I said something like, hey, there was a lot of miscommunication last night with trying to get you two home from school. I completely lost my cool. That's on me. I apologize. I didn't spin it or minimize it. I just owned my part. I just assumed everyone was on the same sheet and I didn't double check. Again, that's on me. And then I reconnected. I just told them, hey, again, this was my fault. Okay. You didn't deserve any of that. I want you to know this was my problem, not yours. That last part is important because it goes beyond my earlier episode, When You Blow It. Repair, confession, and starting again. In that episode, I talked about repair as name what happened, own your part, and reconnect emotionally. Here, I want to add a fourth piece, reconnect. And that's not saying that I'll never mess this up again. What it really says is, here's how I'm going to do things a little differently next time this happens. And if I miss it, I'll come back again. What changed in that story was not the logistics the next day. We still had wake ups and breakfast and getting backpacks and getting the kids out the door, socks on their feet, Crocs not on the dog. But what changed was the emotional climate. Instead of my kids feeling that they're always getting yelled at for nothing, our daughters now have the impression that when mom and dad mess up, they own their part and we care about their experiences. Same schedule, different story. Think about my client I talked about last week and his daughter in their basement. If you listen to that earlier episode, you'll remember it. He was working in his basement, locked onto something. She did what any 3-year-old kid would do, snuck downstairs, maybe scared daddy. She snuck around him, got in her periphery, and jumped up. Absolutely startled him, brought him completely into not the best place. And he yelled at her, "Hey, what are you doing down here? You know you're not supposed to be here. Get out of here." And of course, justifiably so, like any 3-year-old would do, she just started crying in instant tears, ran upstairs and yelled, "Daddy's being mean to me." If nothing happens after that, here's the loop that starts to form. When she goes to find dad in the basement, he yells. She feels scared and ashamed. She flees, and everyone just moves on. And the next time she thinks about going to find dad in the basement, her body says, "Dad is scary when he's down there. Working dad, not safe." That's a whole story installed to her nervous system in just one 5-second event. But that's not where he left it. Fairly quickly, he noticed, hey, that was probably more than she deserved. He immediately went upstairs, tracked her down, got down on one knee at her eye level and apologized. "Hey, kiddo, I'm sorry that I scared you like that. You didn't deserve it." And he reconnected. "Hey, you didn't do anything terrible. You were just trying to have fun with dad. I love that you want to be near me. But next time, just say my name before you get close, okay?" And underneath that, he's also saying, "I'm working on slowing down instead of exploding. If I miss it again, I'll come back again." Same trigger, a surprise while he's working, same reaction. His nervous system gets startled, but with repair in the loop, a different story starts getting told in his daughter's body. Sometimes daddy gets loud, but daddy usually comes back. He says he's sorry, and he lets me know that I'm loved. It's still okay to go to daddy. In other words, repair isn't just about clearing up the event. It's about installing a safer story. And this is where I want to distinguish this week's episode from that first When You Blow It episode. Back there, my focus was on the anatomy of a good apology at home, in your marriage, at work, and why those repairs actually deepen trust. If you haven't listened to it, go find it because it will give you a clear, simple script. Here, though, we're looking at repair as part of the whole pattern. In the old structure, you know the sequence. Something sets you off, something happens, it sets you off, there's fallout, everyone pulls away, life resets without anyone ever really naming it, and the loop strengthens. In this new structure, we're still saying something's going to set you off. How our brains react, we can't do anything about that. So you are still going to react sometimes, and there's still going to be some fallout, and there might still be distance, but then you come back. You name what happened, you own your part. You reconnect emotionally, and you recommit to a different way of entering that specific situation in the future. And only then do you reset. Over time, that repetition actually changes the default. If you think of the loop that you mapped out a couple of episodes ago, maybe it's getting ready for Sunday church, maybe it's getting the kids ready, or maybe it's school pickup. Imagine what happens if every time you blow it during that loop, you refuse to just wait it out. You're going to react sometimes. You're going to miss the name, breathe, delay, wedge. That's okay. Your job this week is not just to never react. Your job is that when you do react in that one predictable loop, you insert a clean repair before you all move on. That can sound as simple as, "Hey, when I yelled earlier getting in the car, that was on me. You didn't deserve that tone. I was stressed and I let that spill out on you. I'm working on slowing down. We're running late. Hey, I might miss it again, but I'll try to come back every time." Short, honest, no excuses. And with that added recommitment, you're telling your family, this wasn't just a passing wave of guilt. This is part of a bigger shift that I'm engaging in. I'm actually really trying to work on this pattern. What you'll begin to notice is that the next time this cycles around, that loop starts to feel a little different. The trigger might still be just as loud. You're running late, somebody can't find a shoe, but your reaction might be one notch smaller. The fallout might not last as long. The distance might soften faster, and your child might be more willing to look you in the eye or crack a smile because your track record is now dad comes back, not just dad blows up and we all pretend like it didn't happen. In the next episode, we're going to zoom all the way out and talk about a pattern shift, how picking one specific behavior at a predictable point in the loop and shifting it just by 10% consistently over 30 days can actually create a different normal in your home. If you want to practice this kind of repair with other Christian dads who are doing it in real life, with sports schedules and tight budgets and imperfect marriages, that's exactly what we do inside my Positive Legacy Academy. There's plenty of information on it. Check the link in the show notes and even schedule a free coaching call with me to see if my programs can help support you in this endeavor. Until next time, stay rooted in grace, stay steady in mind and spirit, and keep building your positive legacy one small intentional moment at a time. As you look back at the map you looped a couple of episodes ago, where are you willing to insert a clean repair this week? Who is it actually with? And what usually tends to happen before that distance set in? Give that a thought, and I'll talk to you again next week. Thanks.